All right. So in this lab, we're going to be building a secure foundation for a new cloud account, and for this entire lab, we're going to be using AWS, not Azure, not GCP, just AWS. And for this first lab, we'll be focusing on just three things. That's protecting the root account, setting up billing alerts, and enabling audit logins. That's just the major thing we'll be doing. So I'm using a new AWS account for the sake of this tutorial, and hopefully everybody would not encounter any issue, right? So because this is a test account, I would of course delete whatever it is that we do with this account at the end of the whole session, right? So, and I'll try as much as possible to like keep to time or make things faster. All right, so I will just sign in as root with my email. So when it comes to accounts with AWS or maybe any cloud accounts, we used to try as much as possible to not use the root account to do anything. So instead, we're going to create a new IAM, and so we can have another account or another IAM user have access to admin privileges, right? Which is definitely not the root account. Of course, there will be restrictions to some of the things that the account will be able to do, but it's better to not use your root account for anything actually, right? And before then, we'll be setting up. I'm trying to go through the objective. Okay. Okay. So okay, it says that we'll be able to like set if we want to set up a foundation now secure cloud environment, focusing on three critical controls, which is protecting the root user. So we'll start first of all by protecting the root user. When you're trying to create an account with AWS or maybe any cloud platform or any cloud services, we tend to, of course, use strong passwords. But the very first thing we're going to be doing here is going to be to set up MFAs. We need to like set up a multi-factor authentication, which we can get. Here's my account. Okay. So when you click on when you have a new account open, by default, it prompts you to add a device to it. It prompts you to add a means of authentication to it, right? But now that I have signed in, I would need to still add a form of authentication to it. You can use OT, which is a third-party app, or you can use Google Authenticator as well. But before we go into that, we just come into accounts here. So you click on your username on top. Mine is ZeteoSec, right? You click on it, then it brings out a new menu. All right. So we would look for security credentials. Next, security credentials. So we just have to look for the parts that talks about multi-factor authentication thereabouts. Okay, so all right. So I think AWS moved it out from where it used to be, which is settings, like in the account section, but it is just right under our nose here, right? So when you click on your username, right, you see security credentials. Yes, so we are in the IAM section, and here we are just going to assign MFA device, right? We can also create an access key to keep, right? But for the sake of this one, we are just going to assign an MFA device, which is going to be my phone. So if you maybe use an Android phone or an iPhone, you can just download Google Authenticator. It works very well. Then Authenticator have. So I think at some point I'm just gonna be taking screenshots because the screenshots are essential at the same time, right? So I'll show QR code, and it's just very easy. Just scan with your phone, and that's all. So 118. So when you set up your authentication thingy on your phone, you get OTPs, right? One-time passwords or one-time pins. So you input the first one from the app and the second one from the app. Okay, let me put it there. 3, 8, 4, 6, 4. Okay, so I have added my phone as a means of authentication, right? And that's basically just it for the sake of the first step. And I have the screenshots already for each of the steps, right? Let me just confirm if I really do have it. The screenshots, yes. So I have the screenshots. Yeah. So that's basically the first step. So whenever I want to like log in, most of the time, whenever you need to log in, you need to like put in your OTP all the time. Whenever you want to log into your account, you have to like put in your OTP. So the second one says that we have to enable billing alerts to monitor cost anomalies, which often signal misuse or attack. So we would set up the billing alerts now. So we'll come back to the top right corner of your screen where you have your username. and you come to billing and cost management. So as you would probably see at the moment that I have a billing going on at the moment. That's why you'd see that I have like 2 cents or $0.2, $0.02. I have something going on, right? It's a new account, but not entirely new. So you just come to budget. Then you can create a budget, right? You can create budget for the account. So when you get to that part of the amount that you're maybe meant to spend, or the amount you budget for whatever project is you are working on, you would be able to stay within the budget. So right now you would see that I have $100 budget, right? And I've only used 0.02. And it happens in such a way that when I use maybe 50% of whatever, or when I reach like 50% of the budget that I have there, I get emails, right, to tell me that, oh, you've used a percentage of the budget you have. So we'll be working on that. So let me just delete this budget, then create a fresh one or create a new one. So we're going to be using a template, right? Which is the AWS has like a couple of templates: the zero spend, the monthly, the daily savings plan, and daily reservation. But for this one, we are going to be doing the monthly cost budget. So let's just say monthly budget, right? Then let me just say that, oh, for this month I want to spend just $5. Then you would add email address that would be notified when you've exceeded your threshold, right? So I'm just going to add my email address. Then if you want to add maybe multiple, if you're working in maybe an organization or something and you want to get the the receipts or the billing alert to whoever it is that may concern, you can just separate with comma, and that's it. But for the sake of this one, I'm just going to leave my email address there, and that's all. So I've created a budget. So you see on top that my email address, I have like a budget there already, and I have another budget that I have created right now. So if I click into it, you would see what is there. So you see that I have current versus budgeted, which is basically just 0.048%. That is the 2 cents from last month, right? Then I have alerts. I have where my alert is going to be going to, and this is the budget, right? And this is when it is starting, which is today. Is that today? No, that's not today. That's 12/01. That's December 12th, and that is it. So out of my five that I have budgeted, I've spent 0.02. So I still have like a long way to go. Maybe there's not a long way to go, but then, so we've created the billing alerts. The third one is going to be to enable audit or monitoring logins. So this is actually essential because whenever anything happens in an account, you want to know whatever it is happens in the account, and AWS would necessarily not like write it maybe as a notification for you, that, oh, this happened, so person did this, right, in the account. So they have like a section of AWS that does these things for us. It tracks users activity, and that's CloudTrail. So we're setting up CloudTrail for AWS, and I think it's called activity log for Azure. So I'm just going to wait. It's going to boot up. Okay, so we are almost in. Yeah, so this is CloudTrail, and this is the part of AWS that logs your activity in your account, right? So you create a trail, and let's say we want to create a trail. We need to like have a trail name, right? And let me just say account logs. 1 second, I need to confirm. Okay, so I've created a trail, right? And that's just the account logs. I think by default, I don't know, maybe because this is not a new account, it will prompt you to create an S3 bucket. So an S3 bucket is just a storage, it's just a storage bucket, or a means of storing things in AWS. That's what buckets are, or S3 buckets generally. And out that, you would have to create a form of storage to keep your logs inside of them. So I have an S3 bucket that is dedicated for CloudTrail. I think you just need maybe one per account, right? So I have one created. So even if I will create multiple trails, all of my log goes into this S3 buckets, right? My logs goes into the S3 bucket. So when you are creating maybe a new trail, if you've not created an S3 bucket before, you'll be asked to create an S3 bucket, or you maybe automatically create your S3 bucket there. But you can maybe send me screenshots to validate whatever it is you are trying to do, right? So let me take screenshots as well. So you see that I have login enabled. So every of the things that I do in this account, I would be able to see. But once I stop logging, I won't see it again. Like I won't be able to see whatever it is that is going on in the account. Then I'm going to show you some histories of whatever has happened in my account, maybe for some days now. So when you come to event history, same CloudTrail, right? When you come to event history and you come down, you'll see tons of events that has happened. So this is from December 11th. So I started logging. This is the new trail I created. I started logging, created. Then I put budget policy. That one happened automatically. I deleted a budget. If you remember, I deleted a budget that I create. Then I created a new one. Then I enabled an MFA device and I logged in. So this was 2:33. I'm 2:43. That was just a couple of minutes ago. That was when I signed in. Right. That was when I logged in. Then I have logs as far back as December 3, right? So you will see everything that happens in the account via the account history. So I'm going to take a screenshot of this part as well. So this is the S3 bucket where every of the things that we do, this is where we're going to be seen. This is where they're going to be stored, right? So that's that. So we've been able to enable MFA, and the last thing you will need to do to protect the root user, right? I think I said it at the beginning of this video that we are really not meant to use these accounts for anything, just to enable the billing, and we are meant to create another user or another account with this, right? That account to be able to embody admin access. You understand? So that's going to be the next thing we're going to do. So I can just search for IAM. That's identity and access management. So okay, so if you notice that, I mean, you see very well, you will notice that I am in the IAM section of my account. So this is the part of AWS that controls every of user activities, who comes in, who goes out, how they tend to log in, how they tend to interact with the app. We define policies, we define the roles for individuals, what they can do, what they cannot do, things like that, right? So I would come into users and I will create a user, right? Remember that I said that we are going to create a user that can embody admin access or administrative activities that can do admin task. So I will say that the username, let me just give it Z, right? So you can choose to what's it called, to provide access to the AWS management console, right? But let's just continue. So I would need to add the user that I just created. I think this lab is meant to be in what's it called, this particular step should be in lab 2, right? How that we add users to a group and we add policies to the group, not to the user. So let me say we want to add policy directly to that user, right? Just that user, not the group, just that user. And that's because of what we want to use the account to do. So we want to make sure that the account, this identity we are trying to create, has the ability to do administrative tasks, right? So I would just click on this. So we would see that action is a step. So this is a wildcard. This is a wildcard. It shows that it can do anything, almost anything inside the account, right? So we would click on this. We click on this, right? So let me close this back. Then you can set boundary for it, but there is no boundary. We are not setting that. We are not setting boundary for this account. So we have the user detail, which is the name, the admin, the console password type. We will still have to set a password for it, right? And the likes. Let me confirm. Okay, let's create like that. So you'll notice we are creating a user. So we have successfully created a user, which is Z, right? Created a user which is Z. So we can check in on Z and see what we have there. So as usual, you would have an ARN, an Amazon resource number for the account itself. We don't have console access enabled, and we would need to create an access key for it, right? So let me check security credential. Okay, so I think we actually have to like give it access to the console. We need to give it access to the console. So we can there are two means of giving access, like two means of passwords assignment. That's auto-generated password and custom passwords. So if I do auto-generated password, AWS themselves is going to dish out the password by themselves. And if I do custom, I'll be the one to type it in by myself. But I'm going to do auto-generated password. And when I log in as that user, right, I'll be prompted to change my password when I sign in. So if I enable this, I would have to, right? So let me do auto-generated password. Yeah. So this is what you need to be able to log in as that user, right? I think I mistakenly closed it. Okay, so I have the permission to download the CSV file, which will contain every of the things that I need for the session. Okay, so I'm just going to screenshot this as well. So you will notice there is a special sign in. So I've copied the link and then I'm going to paste it in. The username is going to be Z, right? And this is the password. So I'm just going to sign in here. So you notice that if you maybe paid attention to the previous page, on the top right corner, you see something called the account ID. That account ID becomes this account ID. Is what you're going to put in here. It's different from signing in as the root user email, right? So then I said the name is going to be Z. Then I would go and check the CSV file that was downloaded. Check the CSV so I can copy the password out. So the password is so, and there it is. I am in as the new account, the new IAM user that I just created. So for the rest of the tutorial, we would not need to do anything with the account, the root account that was created, and that is it with the first lab. So I wanted to load so we can have. So you would notice that with this account I don't have access to the billing. You don't grant billing to just any our account or any our IAM user, right? So I just needed to load a little bit. So if you check on top here, you see that the username now is Z at my account ID. Can you see? And that's it.